he wanted to meet Oscar. So Carol went to the Muppet box and pulled Oscar out and put him on his arm. And he's like, "Hi, how you doing?" And the kid just like gave this look and said, "That's not Oscar. That's a puppet of Oscar. Where's the real Oscar?" And Carol, still with the puppet on his hand, said, "Oh, just a second." And he just walked 6 feet away, ducked behind the cans. The lid popped up. Same thing came up. "Hi, how you doing?" Like, Mommy, it's Oscar! It's Oscar!
Welcome, friends and fans, to another episode of GalaxyCon Live, where we are bringing the convention experience directly to you. And today, we hope you're all having a sunny day, and if not, we hope today's panel will sweep those clouds away, because we are going back to where the air is sweet with the cast of Sesame Street. So, without further ado, today's episode is sponsored by the letters Q&A and the number 7, which is the exact number of guests. And our first is an actor and artist who joins us today to discuss the role of Army veteran and history teacher Gordon Robinson and occasionally space adventurer Trash Gordon. Please welcome Roscoe Orman.
Hi, folks.
Hello.
How's everybody doing out there?
I think they're all doing well. How are you today, sir?
Doing great. Yeah, I mean, well, considering all of what's going on in the world, you know, staying healthy and happy and busy and, you know, doing what we can do. And, you know, but it's great to see everyone. Yeah.
Oh, it's absolutely great to have you here, sir. I've been an admirer of your work both on Sesame Street and some of your other roles as well. And someday I hope to sit down with you and talk about those. But because you've had an eclectic career.
I have, yes.
And you were very involved in theater at a time when it was a very interesting, challenging, and very evolving time in theater as well.
Absolutely.
And you were definitely there in the trenches as an actor and a director. And yeah, I've gotten some stories of it from Emilio. I would love to sit down with you someday and hear some of those stories as well.
I'd love to tell them. Yes.
Awesome. So, but today though, we are talking about the nice stuff. Tell us a little bit about Trash Gordon real quick, because
Trash Gordon. Wow. Well, you know, that whose idea was that? But in the first place, was that John Stone who decided? I don't know if anyone else.
Not sure. When we bring their other guests out, we can find out who came up with it. But when they first tell you, hey, we got a great idea for Gordon is going to play this imaginary character for Oscar and et cetera. Yeah.
To take off on Flash Gordon, Trash Gordon, who was one of Oscar's idols and friends, you know. So yeah, that was really a lot of fun. You know, I was having fun with it until they got to be kind of some pullback on it because of the image of trash, you know, with Gordon. I mean, it just someone decided that was not appropriate for, you know.
The history of the show, I don't need to tell you, is definitely with things that were fun, and somebody sort of said, well, no more banging your heads, banging the Muppet's head against the keyboards and stuff like that. So
yeah, so we had to tone some of those things down. But I had a lot of fun when I was doing it, you know, with the superhero outfit, you know, and all of that was, you know, right up my alley, you know.
It absolutely got you out of the character, got you to play a little more.
Exactly. I was a huge fan of Superman, you know, on TV back in the early days. Probably way before your time, but yeah.
Well, I'm a child of the 70s, so I had all the reruns on the UHF channels. So very much a George Reeves fan.
Fantastic.
And I was somewhere between the first generation of Sesame Street fans and maybe that second generation, again being mid 70s. So I missed the beginning, but I think I was there definitely during when it was really it found its voice in its stride. So
yes.
So, and speaking of that, let's bring out some of your peers and castmates. Our next, she is an actress who joins us to discuss her role as veterinarian Dr. Gina Jefferson. Please welcome Alison Bartlett.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Roscoe.
Hey, Al, how are you?
Hello.
How are you holding up?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay, like everyone else. I'm trying to stay safe, stay smart, stay informed.
That's the good ideals to aspire to in our interesting times. Although I've said this before, the year may have started to a slightly tumultuous start, but I think that was just the new year shredding off the last detritus of the old year, and I approached 2021 with optimism, and I'm sticking to it.
Let the healing begin, right?
Absolutely. And speaking of healing, your character on Sesame Street had a fascinating, complete arc. Starting, as the girl, and then getting as a schoolgirl, getting out of school, getting into daycare, and deciding to become a veterinarian. I mean, this again, like so many other characters, it was interesting to that generation to grow with your character.
Yeah, I started out as a student of Gordon's. I didn't know Gordon was an Army veteran, so I just learned that. But my character started as Gordon's science student, and then evolved. And actually, my character was only supposed to be there for one day. It was a day player. And then I guess, as the story has it, no one knew what to do with me, so they just kept me and gave me an incredible journey on this show. Really, an unbelievable arc of character work. So forever grateful.
Indeed. It was absolutely fun to observe. And again, sometimes I'd love to have you on. We could talk about the non-Sesame Street work. I would love to hear about working with Peter Bogdanovich, one of my favorite characters.
Oh yeah, Sopranos, sure. Well, that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's a Sesame Street panel, so
yeah, exactly.
Sopranos.
There's a little conflict there, but we'll have coffee.
Yes, definitely. And Roscoe made a movie in the 70s that I won't mention here, but yeah.
we got in trouble for that.
No, Willie D is. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. It's all good. And speaking of all good, he is an actor who joins us today to talk about the role of being the proprietor of Sesame Street's Fix-It Shop. Louise, please welcome back Emilio Delgado.
Hey everyone, how you doing?
Yay!
Luis here. Yeah, nice to see you all. Hey, Roscoe, Alison.
Welcome back, boss. How you been holding up?
Hey, so far so good. What can I tell you? I'm here. I'm alive and kicking. What can I tell you?
Oh, we had such a great time with you last time, and so glad to have you back, and glad that the new year is treating you well.
Well, yeah. I mean, I came back from on the road back in February, and then the pandemic started. So I've been in the apartment for all year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get back to it. I promise you, we'll get back to it.
I'm raring to go. Let me tell you.
Absolutely. And speaking of raring to go, our next guest is an actor and director who joins us to discuss the role of the proprietor of Hooper's Store, Alan. Please welcome Alan Muraoka.
Hey, Alan. All right, man. Hey.
Alan, how are you holding up?
I'm doing great. So during the pandemic, I decided that we needed a pet in our life. So we got a pandemic cat now named Charlie.
Oh,
yeah. She's in the other room. She's napping in the other room right now. But
we are big fans of GalaxyCon virtual stage to be introduced to pets. So at any time you want to bring them out,
listen, it may happen. So, because her litter box is literally right down to my left. You could just come at any time.
I've got my cat right here because of the pandemic, I'm in my bedroom right now, which looks like a television studio threw up in it. So it's really good. So, Alan, I just wanted to ask, you got some of your very early theater work at Disney World, as I understand it.
That is absolutely right. And I understand you're in Orlando, Patty, correct?
Yes, I am. So I'm curious if what stages did you help out at?
So I was they called them the Kids of the Kingdom, and it was a group of 12 singing, dancing men and women who were in front of at Orlando. I was in front of Cinderella's castle. So I did 5 shows a day, started at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Our last show was at 11 o'clock at night.
Wow.
So it was so much fun, and it was really one of those. It really gave me so much training. You know how Orlando is in August, and it was an outdoor stage.
Oh.
Just imagine.
Wow. We probably know some of the same people.
I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure we do. If we kept talking.
I've been an equity performer at Disney for 13 years. So yeah.
But honestly, it was a great way to both make a living and sort of get entree into show business. So I still love going back there. So I was back there last October, right before everything shut down. So I'm a big Disney fan as well. So I'm hoping it will come back soon and bigger than ever.
It is always a pleasure to meet a fellow cast member who has gone on to, and yes, I will say this, bigger and better things.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. And speaking of Orlando alumni, he is a puppeteer and former performer renowned for Bear in the Big Blue House. Spent some time here on Eureka's Castle as well. Today joins us to discuss the role of various members of the Snuffleupagus family and various other Muppet creatures. Please welcome back Noel MacNeal.
Hey, no, all right.
Hello, everybody.
Cat off. Okay.
Yes. It's like the sheer timing. I've done so many of these things and like other Zoom calls. Somehow being in this chair, in this setup, that's when the cat decides, oh, you don't want to be bothered right now. Well, hi there. How you doing? Let me sit on your lap. Let me have the tail flicking in your face while you're trying to make a point. Yeah, so that might happen again. So stand by. No, she's leaving now. So anyway, hi, everybody.
Hey, Noel.
Hi, Roscoe, Alan, Emilio.
Noel, how's your year been so far?
Personally, it got a lot better this past Wednesday at 12:01 p.m.
Really? What happened? Did you get some good news?
I know. I just felt like this weight just lift off me for some reason. I don't know why, but it's like sweeping the clouds away. So yeah, I'm feeling great.
Well, you're looking great, and as always, it is great to have you back. It's like it's always fun talking to you, boss. And I'm glad the new year is again, like for many of us, reinvigorated optimism.
Yes, indeed. So I was like, I haven't gotten the shot yet, but at least now I have hope that I'm actually going to be getting the shot between now and the end of the year. So yes.
Yes. We'll get there. So speaking of getting there, our next guest, she is a puppeteer and former manager for the Children's Television Workshop and has witnessed most of Sesame's history by virtue of being married to Carol Spinney. Please welcome back Debra Spinney.
Yay, Debbie! All right, yeah.
Oh, my friends, I miss you all.
Oh, we miss you, Debra. How are you doing?
I'm like everybody else. We're hanging in there, and just hoping that this year, like Noel just said, it's definitely going to be a better year than last year. Just hoping it's just going to be better for everybody.
Yes.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Yeah. Amen to that. Debra, it's always wonderful to have you here again. Thank you so much for joining us.
I love being with you. Thank you.
And your signal is so much more clearer than when we had you last time. You were in an aquarium, so this is wonderful. So. Yes. And our final guest, he is a puppeteer performer whose latest series, Cave-In, can be found on YouTube. Today, he joins us to discuss his time on Sesame Street as the performer behind Ernie and Kermit the Frog. Please welcome back our friend, Steve Whitmire.
Hey, Steve.
Thank you. I get to be last so everybody can make noise. I felt bad for Roscoe. It's like, somebody there.
Steve, my friend, how are you?
I'm very good, Patty. I'm doing well.
So good. So I mentioned Cave-In. For those who may not know, tell our audience about this troll that has plagued you.
Yes.
Well, Cave-In is this live stream that I'm doing every month with a new character called Weldon the IT guy, who is this little curmudgeonly troll, and he takes calls from the people who are watching. But real quick, I just want to say we always do these production numbers in the middle, and I can't do them easily. I do the hardest thing I can. And we're doing one next Friday night that's a takeoff on Star Trek and Star Wars, all mashed up together. Wow. And it's the biggest thing we've done so far, so I hope everybody can see it. I'm very excited about it.
Awesome.
Whoa.
Awesome. Definitely. Definitely. So, audience, if you haven't subscribed to it, check it out. The YouTube channel is called Cave In.
Yes.
Indeed. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you for joining us here today. As always, we here at GalaxyCon, we're looking forward to that day when we all get the shots, everybody can travel again, and we can once again get you back on our physical stages, and we can get you all back in front of your fans. But in the meantime, we have the GalaxyCon virtual stage here. Such a pleasure to have you. Our team right now is going through the audience questions. Boom. In the meantime, I just want to open up with this. From your own perspective, just what has been the best thing to be a part of Sesame Street?
Oh, yeah.
I can answer that one.
Go right ahead, ladies first.
I got to marry Big Bird.
Well, we can't top that. Next
Well, that's
question.
it.
None of us can say that. Except
It says it all.
Well, who's got another? I'm not going to
yeah,
ask
we
you to
can't
top.
top that. How are we gonna top that one?
I'm not going to ask you to top it. We'll just ask you to keep going.
I was the lucky one.
Well, what was great for me, because I'm the one who joined the latest of this beautiful group here, was being able to walk in and see people that I actually grew up with and admired and loved, and be in the same room with them. As a matter of fact, on my very first day on the set, Loretta Long came up to me because she has been there from the very beginning, and she said, "How old are you?" And I told her, and she said, "Yep, I raised you." And she I was like, "Well, that is absolutely true." So, yeah. So for me, it was just so great to be in.
So long ago.
It was 23. So I just finished my 23rd season.
Yo, you were 23 when you started?
No, I wish I was 23 when I started. No, I've been 23 years. So yeah, can you believe that? I know.
Wow.
And I thought it was gonna be like, oh, if I'm there for 5 years, how great will that be? And blink of an eye, it's 23 years. So
For a lot of
working with all of this group of talented and beautiful people.
I think it's that way for a lot of us. I mean, the multi-generations that Sesame Street affected. And in my case, it was wonderful because it was a chance to be a part of the show that made me decide to be a puppeteer. I mean, I knew Jim's work long before that, and loved it. But it was really Sesame Street that nailed it when I could watch Sesame Street every single day and see the Muppets and how they interacted with the people and that community feeling of the street. And it was just wonderful. And also, I want to mention just real quickly that in those early days, Noel was always assisting me with Ernie when I first got there. We didn't talk about that last time. And and then Noel, got famous and went off to do a bear or something. But I mean, he was the best. And we did so much work together as Ernie, as a team. I wanted to mention that.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess that's for me too. Is just like being proud of this show. That's like I don't know when it officially went beyond a show, but it's definitely like a legacy now because you will never see a children's show like this ever again. Certainly not lasting 50 plus years.
Yeah, I know.
And then being able to, because I used to be able to travel for Sesame International and help audition and train the puppeteers for the co-productions. And just like being proud to say, like, you're now, part of the family. You're part of this incredible extended family. Part of the longest street on earth. And it's very proud to like look back, and also now on YouTube, like going back and like seeing some of the stuff that I did like way back when, and to like showing stuff, and also just like seeing stuff and going like, oh right, I was in that. Oh, okay.
But there's stuff that I see that I have no idea when I did that or what, where it was or what I was doing, and I say to Carol,
Right.
I don't remember doing that. it was so long ago. It was like 45 years ago. Who knew it was going to last? I was going to last that long on the show. Of course, the best thing was coming into that whole ensemble thing, because as an actor, I always thrived being in an ensemble, working with other actors and everything. and just, you know, being with that cast, and we've been there all along, and that ensemble playing and getting to be friends with everyone. It's Noel mentioned it. It's like a family. It's like you have another family there. And I think that's probably one of the best things, other than having a job for 45 years.
Yeah. It was the gig that keeps gigging. Allison, what's your takeaway?
I was gonna say I don't remember. I never had a life without Sesame Street. I never did, because I grew up on the show. You know, I was born right around when it came up. And then I was still watching it when I was in junior high school, because I was this anxious kid. So I would go back to kind of what made me comfortable. And then I was 15 when I started the show. So I literally have never had a life without it. And then my kids watched it. And but just backing on what Emilio said, there is something, even with these boxes here, a lot of us cannot see each other for years. There is a sense of like soul-like family safety that comes with these faces here, and just that word Sesame Street. It is a little bit indescribable, and to be a part of that is unbelievable. Just unbelievable. So yeah, that's it's pretty special. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there, because seeing everyone, it just really validates that feeling, which you kind of walk with.
Roscoe, bring us home.
Yeah, well, you know, my introduction to Sesame Street came through one of my best buddies, a guy named Matt Robinson, who was the original Gordon of Sesame Street, and he was a theater buddy, friend, and he and I were pretty close. He's also was the father of Holly Robinson Peake, wonderful actress. We were doing a project together at one point, and he said, "You know, Roscoe, they're looking for someone to replace the guy who's doing Gordon. I forget his name. Does anybody remember his name? The second Gordon.
Hank, what's his name? Hank?
Was it Matt something?
No, it was after Matt.
Oh, after Matt. Yeah.
I think
He
it was
lasted for one season.
Of course, yeah. I'll look it up. You keep talking.
First name was Patty. His first name was Hal.
Hal Miller.
Hal Miller.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And so Matt asked me if I'd be interested in the possibility of joining, Sesame Street and playing Gordon. We were doing another project at the time, and I said, "Oh yeah, sure, why not? Sounds like fun." And at the time, I had become a father, that same year, and I said, "This would be a nice thing to share with my kids," and the rest is history. Actually, I did an audition that involved three finalists. A guy named Robert Guillaume.
Oh my God.
Benson,
Yeah.
The show Benson, and a guy named a wonderful actor and good friend of mine, David Downing, who's no longer with us. A wonderful theater and film actor. And so the three of us were competing for the role of Gordon.
Wow.
That day. And lo and behold, they decided that I would be the guy they wanted to work with.
It's so funny. I can't imagine Robert Guillaume as Gordon. Especially with Benson.
Robert Guillaume was I don't know. He was a wonderful actor, but he didn't quite have that kind of I don't know what the word is.
Well, I think there's a gentleness that is that is needed.
Kind of stern and kind of I don't know. His character is in Soap and his own show. He was a Weisenheimer. Yeah, he was. Very, very gifted guy, though. Very gifted guy. Really
good singer too.
Great singer.
Oh yeah. I've seen clips of his Phantom of the Opera.
I was so just overwhelmed by the fact that I was getting this job that would last. I thought maybe for a few years, but turned out to be how many decades?
Yeah, it lasted a few years.
It lasted a few years, yes.
And it is interesting because you were the only character they would recast. And I have the list right here, starting with in the test pilots, Garrett Saunders, who I know they actually did an online search because they could not determine his identity. They couldn't find a pay stub or anything. And finally, his relatives came forward and said, "Oh yeah, that's our uncle." He was a theater actor at the time. Then Matt Robinson, Hal Miller, and then you, Roscoe.
And then me, yeah.
Ah,
well, yeah. I was, not expecting anything like that to occur in my career after being on stage and some film work for my early years. But
you became the James Bond of Sesame Street.
The James Bond.
Watch that movie. Watch the movie.
Patty, there is something about sort of each of these people like that. There's a reason why everyone has lasted so long. There's goodness and there's gentleness and there's a friendliness for each of my compatriots here that make it, make them iconic in their own way. And there are wonderful actors out there that would not fit on the show because their personalities would not mesh.
Yeah.
So it is.
I also
and care for all of you guys as well. So there is a trickiness with casting with this show that you have to check certain boxes in order to be part of it.
I forgot to mention that one of my great benefits was the fact that I had been a friend of the great Will Lee before I knew anything about Sesame Street. I was kind of a revolutionary theater guy doing the Free Southern Theater in New Orleans, political theater, and I was in the same kind of league as Will Lee, who did that back in the 1930s.
With the group theater.
With the group,
right.
Yeah.
And he was one of my idols. He became a friend of mine when we did a appearance together, talking about the history of revolutionary theater and all that. And within another year or two after that, I was working with him as the great Mr. Hooper.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Wonderful blessing for me.
And again, to this day, I think one of the most bravest things that in television history was that Thanksgiving episode, and acknowledging his passing, and again, Debra, it was Carol's finest hour.
And Carol's proudest moment.
Yes,
absolutely. Just for a children's show to not be afraid to talk about those hard issues with children and get them to understand this. Yes, this is very sad and this is very terrible, but let's remember the good and go forward. And I think this respects to the show, this respects to all your contributions, and this is what I have to thank you for. This is not an easy gig. A lot of people would, from the outside, would just dismiss this as a kids show and educational show and let it go. But this requires a very delicate form of acting, and so for your contributions to this, all of you, whether it's through the puppetry or through the face acting, I absolutely thank you for your talents. I thank you for your professionalism, and I applaud you for all your performances because it speaks to you all and your craft.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Now sit down, mister, because we are ready to go to audience questions. And let's go ahead and roll our first one. And this comes from Joe. Who was your favorite guest star on the show? And you had a lot of interesting ones.
So many of them.
Wow. I'll start because this is back when I was, before I puppeteered on Sesame, I was the wrangler. So I wrangled the puppets and took care of Big Bird and Oscar. So I remember when we had John Candy come on the show. Yeah. And this was back right after, we're on the height of SCTV. And he was in the movie Follow That Bird. But he was so disappointed that he didn't get to meet any of the Muppets. The scenes at the end where he arrests like the two villains, but there's no Muppets. So he was really proud to come on Sesame, and he dressed as his character, one of the Schmengi brothers, and he had like the low clarinet. And he was doing this bit with Oscar, and it was in the morning. And so did his stuff, did his little insert for Put Down the Ducky, the original version, and then they called lunch, and so it was like me and Marty and Pam and Carol and Debbie. Yeah. And it was like we were going to lunch, and we thanked him, and he's like, I was like, where y'all going? It was like, where are we going to lunch? Like, oh, it's a great place across the street, the Italian restaurant across the street, because this was back on 55th and 9th. So it was the Italian restaurant that was at the corner. And he was like, oh, can I come? And we're like, okay. And we had lunch with him.
No, you may not.
You're done.
Yeah.
I had a great time with him. He was telling us stories about SCTV and him, and he paid for our lunch. And then we headed back across the street to the studio, and his car was waiting for him. And like, hugged Marty, hugged Pam, he hugged Carol, hugged Debbie. And then, I put my hand out to shake, and he hugged me. And I thought, my God, you're hugging me? It's like, that is so nice of you. He was truly one of the nicest celebrities I have ever met. And I was so sorry when I heard about his passing, because it was like, he had such like talent for comedy and such a great like personality. This past holiday season, like one of my son's traditions is like we watch Home Alone, like the original, and then John Candy's in there, and just having him in there, there's something about him, that presence of him. He was so sweet and so gentle, and the chemistry he and Catherine O'Hara had is just visible. So for me, it was John Candy. No offense to the first ladies that have come through, but it was John.
It's again. This is a hard question. This is. So who's got another?
I think one of my favorites, in terms of just the fandom that I had, for him was Robin Williams. He came in and did a whole day with us.
Oh yeah.
He pretty much took over the whole studio that day. He was like, anyone who knows, remember his work on what was the name of the show again?
Mark and Mindy.
Mark and Mindy. The guy was absolute genius. He would just pick stuff up. He would and he would draw all of the energy from whoever was there. I mean, he was all over the entire studio, making up stuff that no one could have written for him.
Yeah.
He was great.
He was totally spontaneous.
Spontaneous.
Right.
Yes. So that was quite an experience.
And funny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was a national comedic treasure, no question.
Yep.
So
well, for me, back when 100 years ago, when I was living in California, in the early days before Sesame Street, I used to have an idol that was a singer, and I used to go to the Greek Theater all the time whenever he showed up. The Greek Theater in there in Los Angeles, and man, I had all his records and everything. And one day he showed up on the show, and man, I was like beside myself, as they say. Having to meet Harry Belafonte. He was absolutely an amazing performer. The whole time that he was on stage singing everything, everybody was like totally engrossed in what he was saying and singing and doing. And then later to meet him was like, one of the best things that ever happened to me in terms of meeting someone famous, that you admired so much. Yeah. And the other one was Tony Bennett, because I was admiring him.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're both singers, but they're fantastic talents, and to meet them in person was like something else. It really was.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. Who's got another?
Well, for me, the nicest and actually the most fun person that I got to work with was Jimmy Fallon. And he was on the character called Wild Nature Survival Guy, and he did the whole episode. It was me and Nitya, who played Leela on the show. We were in this stuff together, and so between takes, we would be like, "Would you mind taking a picture?" Like, so he was like, "Of course." And so we would do setups where, okay, pretend like I'm yelling at you with the script because you can't remember your lines. And so I have all of these great pictures, like setups of just him and I, because he was just so off the cuff and lovely. And we were talking in between one of the takes and said, "You know what? So I'm doing this." No, I'm going to try this talk show and let's see if it works out. Who knows? Probably and then that's it. And lo and behold, obviously still a late on. But he's been on our float a few times as well, and every time he comes on, he is actually as excited to be with us as we are to be with him. You guys remember that from the Macy's parade when he was the time
totally. He knew every one of us. He knew every one of us.
Yeah, that was very cool.
I know Carol was very happy when Waylon Jennings came on.
Oh yeah,
really close with Waylon from making Follow That Bird, and became very close with Waylon and his wife Jessie Coulter. So we'd travel around the country in his bus with him and do sit on the stage during his concerts and stuff. So Waylon said he wanted to come on Sesame Street, which he did, and he wrote a song for him to sing with Oscar called Wrong. And it was a really cute song. And so I think for Carol, that was a really, like a highlight, only because he felt like it was his best buddy,
Oh, that's great.
So that was kind of fun.
Nice. Alison, how about you?
I was thinking, when I remember when Billy Joel came on, that was kind of the first time I'd been on the show where a celebrity was on and we could kind of be up close and watch, because the cat, we used to be able to, they have closed sets now, but way back when, if a celebrity was on, we could come and watch. But the person I keep thinking of is Maya Angelou. And the reason is because when she came on years ago, I wasn't really familiar with her work. I was watching her be on the show, but I wasn't into her work. And because she came on the show and I got to be exposed to meeting her and then her work, it changed my life. It really did. So just by her being a guest on the show, just as a reader of literature, which I love, and a writer myself, her being on the show literally changed the trajectory of my life, my career, my what's important to me. So that I would have to say, Maya Angelou was just a very significant celebrity guest for me.
Absolutely. Actually, I got to meet and become a friend of Maya during my civil rights years in the Free Theater.
Wow.
She invited me to her home. She cooked dinner for me. I was this 22-year-old in this revolution.
Wow, man.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm your friend, Roscoe. So that would mean that then she was my friend too. That's what that means. I know that's.
That I can, that's known to the world. I mean, Maya Angelou was brilliant in every way. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I was there a lot less. Unfortunately, I wasn't there that often for the show. I would bring me in just to do inserts. But I do remember one particular time, I guess for whatever reason, Christopher Reeve was on. This was after his accident. So he was, in the wheelchair and all that. Yeah. And, but we had worked together on the Muppet Show back at a totally different time in his life when he was Superman. And it was just so happened that it was that Muppet Show episode that Rizzo kind of became Rizzo. And so he was Super Rat and a lot of stuff with Christopher Reeve. So when Chris was coming on Sesame Street, evidently Ernie was his favorite character. And he didn't know I was the same guy that we had worked with back in those days, but we had a great little reunion. I love when things like that come full circle with people. You don't always meet celebrities outside of what you're doing and get to know them and spend the rest of your life knowing them. But once in a while, you have these circles that come back and you meet up again, and it's always nice to reminisce that way.
Very much.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very much. I did not see her when she was on, and I read about it several years later. Margaret Hamilton as the Wicked Witch of the West, and again, that was another thing that it's was part of the band's Sesame Street lore, because kids were, even though she was a nice witch and trying to find her way back home, they didn't repeat that episode again. So.
I think it was the only time she ever got in the movie.
Yeah,
that meant a lot to her. I mean, we got to hang out with her at somebody's house afterwards, and she was quite an amazing person to talk to. Unfortunately, the next time we saw her, she was suffering from, I think, Alzheimer's. So she didn't remember that she even was the Wicked Witch.
Dear.
Sad, but
I'm so glad you shared that time with her, though. That's remarkable.
Yeah.
It's very much so. And Joe, thank you. Wonderful question to start us off with. I think we have time for one more, so let's go see if we can go on a really good one. And this comes from Lisa, #1 Trek fan. She comes to many of our shows. What was the most memorable moment with a young fan? Yeah, I know. This is
wow, that's
I definitely have one because it has followed me throughout. Like anytime I'm on a set, I think of this young girl. It was maybe, I don't know, my second or third season, I can't remember. And John Stone was directing, and it was a big show. And I can't remember what it was, but we had to do take after take after take. And, first when the little kids come on and they're escorted out, they were all excited. The first take, they're excited. The second take. And by like the seventh take, she looked at me and was like, Gina, I don't want to play anymore. And I was like, so whenever I'm shooting a show that's taking like friggin' forever and there's mistakes, I think of that little girl. I'm like, I don't want to play anymore. And so that is my most memorable moment with a young fan. It was perfect. It couldn't have been scripted better.
Wow.
That's mine.
I also have to mention that one of the main vehicles for my being selected for the show was I did my audition with a young kid by the name of John Williams. John,
yeah.
John was I think he wasn't even maybe 5 years old when I did the audition, and he and I hit it off so well. I mean, of course, I had to also do a segment with Oscar the Grouch, which was in my mind was completely, a failure of being able to talk to a puppet because I hadn't. But this kid, John, was so incredibly wonderful, spontaneous, joyful, happy, and just brilliant, so he and I had a great chemistry together, and that's why I got the job, I think. I mean, I really owe it to him.
John, yeah, he was terrific.
John said, I'm not working with Guillaume, forget that guy. Yeah. I never want to see that Guillaume guy again, but Roscoe, so we'll give him a whirl.
For me, it was like I actually witnessed like this memorable moment. It was back when kids visited the set. They still do. And this kid, his favorite character was Oscar, and he had like a little paper bag full of like torn paper and crumpled up like newspaper. He wanted to give Oscar trash, and so he wanted to meet Oscar. So Carol went to the Muppet box and pulled Oscar out and put him on his arm. And he's like, hi, how you doing? And the kid just like gave this look and said, that's not Oscar. That's a puppet of Oscar. Where's the real Oscar? And Carol, still with the puppet on his hand, said, oh, just a second. And he just walked 6 feet away, Just behind the cans, the lid popped up, same thing came up. Hi, how you doing? Mommy, it's Oscar, it's Oscar. And had the trash can and just had the best time because that was Oscar. And the kid knew the difference between a puppet and the real Oscar.
I love that story.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so true. So many celebrities, little kids have made up jump. That's not Iron Man. Literally, got up to Robert Downey Jr. and Harrison Ford. That's not Indiana Jones. That's not Han Solo. Just because, yeah.
Exactly.
Out of context.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Who's got another?
I have one that has nothing to do with, it can't be Sesame Street because I wasn't there enough to have, you guys did 50 years of working with young people.
Muppet Show is fair game.
I do have an interesting one because I think we were shooting something like Hollywood Squares or one of those shows. And occasionally parents would say, I didn't bring my kids today because I didn't want to ruin the magic. And it almost never did. I mean, kids immediately walked in and didn't care that you were sitting there with a puppet on your hand.
No, not at all.
Almost never. Now, as Noel's example might be a little different, but it's mostly not. And so I'm between shows, you do a bunch of shows in the same day with Kermit, and this little girl, the parents are going to bring this little girl in, and they say, we really were reluctant to do this, but we hope it won't traumatize her for life. So they bring her in, and I'm there with Kermit, and Kermit speaks to her for a while. And I'm thinking she's 4 or 5. She was absolutely dead silent with no response, no smile, no facial. And I thought, oh my God, we have traumatized her for life. So she goes out of the room, and the mom comes running back in laughing. And she said, I have to tell you this because she was so quiet. The minute we got out of the room, she said, see, Mom, I told you he was real.
Yeah, totally.
I love that.
Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Who's got another one?
Well, I don't remember any specific one with a child when I was acting on the show, but I do remember one that was that I saw, and it was that little blonde girl. I don't remember her name. She was doing a bit with Grover. You remember that bit? And she was just so right there in the moment, and she was so funny playing along with Grover, and Grover, of course, was playing along with her. It was just so spontaneous, and funny. And the kid, I mean, just was like delightful, such a delightful little kid. And they had her on again a few times on the show, and the same thing, she just had this personality. Yeah. And every once in a while, you met a kid like that on the show. Most of them were very intimidated because of the lights and everything, but this little girl, she took it, she hit the ground running.
Well, that was Alison, wasn't it?
What was her name?
Probably.
There was another little kid.
Hit the ground running.
That's right, baby.
Remember Debo? Remember Debo?
Yeah.
He was another little kid. He was in a different way. He was just so sincere and right there all the time. And that wonderful face that he had. Oh, it's amazing, Amazing kids they had on the show.
Yeah. Indeed. Alan, you got one?
Yeah. So for me, it wasn't one person. It's been ever since we introduced Julia, our Muppet with autism, on the show. Whenever we do Comic-Cons now, or I do live events, there are so many, the representation of kids and adults on the spectrum who come and visit us and come and visit our tables it's amazing. And I think because of that, they're like, I'm on the spectrum. I had they just come out with all of this information that is like, and in a very prideful way. And because I think, and they come to us because now we are sort of the people who are friends with people with autism now as well, and advocates for them. So for me, I get so excited, and I love talking to the parents about it. And the parents are usually the ones who are, they're so respectful and admire the work that we've been doing on the show, and admire that we have this character on the show now that represents them and represents their family. So for me, it's really exciting and continues to be.
Absolutely. Debra, bring us home.
Oh, darn. Story. This one's kind of not about maybe a child on the show, but somebody who was affected by the show. Sure. And when this person was about 5 years old, he had his mom help him write a little letter to Carol at our house and was just saying how much he loved his work and he wanted to grow up to be a puppeteer and he hoped someday he would be. And Carol was so charmed by this child, and they put his phone number, that he called him on the telephone. And needless to say, that was, the mother was like, it's who on the phone? So this person's name is Weston Long. And some of you might even know Weston.
Oh, yeah.
Deb, he's he's watching this right now, just so you know. Yeah.
So, and Carol and Weston were,
Wow.
And when Carol got Weston on the phone, and here's this little tiny boy, and Carol always thought he sounded like a little English child, like, hello, Mr. Spinney. So sweet and so just so polite. So Carol kept in touch with Weston throughout Weston's whole growing up. Wow. And to this day, Weston would come visit us at our house, and Weston is a puppeteer, and he performs at Broadway, and he's been on Sesame Street, and he's just, his career is blossoming, and he's the most wonderful, wonderful person. And he always says thank you to Carol, because he was, he was his mentor. And it's nice to see your little baby grow up and do what he's always wanted to do,
Oh, yeah. Lisa, thank you. That was an absolutely wonderful question. And GalaxyCon viewers, this has been my time with the cast of Sesame Street. Ladies and gentlemen, any final words for our audience before we go backstage?
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Always. It has been my absolute pleasure to serve you all today. Once again, thank you for joining us on the GalaxyCon virtual stage. Thank you to our audience for joining us, and thank you for those great questions. Okay, we hope to see you again with more events just like this here at GalaxyCon Live. Until then, bye-bye, everyone. Take care, and
adios.
keep washing those hands.
Good to see you guys.
Stay safe.